8:23, I've been looking forward to this as soon as we heard that Blair Mantin was going to be coming on. Always such great information from you that helps no matter what your financial situation might be, whether you're in the red, in the black, or feeling buried in the red. Mm-hmm. You are with Sands & Associates.
That's right.
And you help people with bankruptcy issues.
Yeah, we help people with debt. So it's not always bankruptcy. Oftentimes it's a repayment plan called a consumer proposal, which we're going to talk about later. But we're the folks, if you got way too much debt and don't know what to do, we're the people to see. So
you're telling us about some of the myths that are confusing us and costing us money. What's tip number one?
Well, tip number one, I'd summarize is don't confuse activity with achievement when it comes to your debts. Just because you're making some payments, you're probably not getting ahead depending on the type of payments that you're making. So for example, if you've got a credit card bill and you're not paying it off each month, really take a look at that statement. For the last few years, creditors have had to disclose to you how long is it going to take to pay it off if you only make the minimum payments. I've seen people 150 years, 200 years, even a small $10,000 debt, small in the grand scheme of things, that could take you 6-7 years. You're going to pay way more in interest than probably you originally spent on the card.
Right. So if you find yourself in that situation, what would your advice be to someone who, let's say, has a $5,000 balance and can't make the minimum payment? Do you flip it and try and get a personal loan to cover that? So you're not paying 18%?
That's a good way to start, is can you reduce the interest rate? It really comes to just take a look at it, take a really conscious look at your budget, and are you going to be able to get out of debt, or are you tapped at just making the minimum payments? And if all you're doing is paying the minimum, odds are you got a problem.
Odds are you're in trouble, and probably shouldn't be spending extra on your credit card at Christmas time.
Yeah, first step of solving the problem is just to stop borrowing.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Buying insurance for everything. We always get that. Would you like insurance for that video game at the toy store? No. But what about sitting across from your mortgage broker or, it seems like there's always that insurance policy. It's only going to cost you $17, $20, $30 a month.
Yeah, or a certain number of dollars per $1,000 of mortgage or on your credit card balance or things like that. There's good insurance and bad insurance, of course. And, if you're young, have a young family you need to provide for, you need life insurance. Now, you probably just need term insurance as opposed to whole life, and there's different kinds. But one that I think you should always say no to is balance protection insurance.
What's that?
Well, that's if you've got a balance on your credit card. They usually call you, in the evening, telemarketers saying, we can protect this balance. If you lose your job or become disabled, we're going to make the minimum payments until you get a new job or until you're able to work again. The challenge is, first off, it's very expensive. It's probably 1% of your balance each month, which over a 12-month period, that can take a 20% interest rate, which is already very high, to 32 or more.
Right.
So really expensive. And then when you actually need it, it doesn't do that much. All it does is make your minimum payments for a few months, which we just talked about. Most of that isn't going to the balance anyway. So it just, delays things a little bit. You usually don't get much value out of it, and you pay a lot for it.
Balance insurance is a no. Got it. Okay, now not being aware of your rights as a consumer is another important tip here.
Yeah, and that's great. We're in Financial Literacy Month this month, so let's take an opportunity to really give a sense of, how good we are. We have it in BC. We got some great consumer protection legislation here. Number one thing that people don't know about is if someone's harassing you, they're calling you morning, noon, and night because you owe them money, and there could be a number of reasons for this. You can stop those calls without having to see a trustee. You don't have to see a credit counselor. All you have to do is send them a letter. You send them a letter in a prescribed format that says, hey, I'm aware of my rights pursuant to consumer protection legislation. I do not consent to phone calls. Here is my address. And trust me, what people will put down in a letter is a lot easier to deal with than what someone will say over the phone, trying to intimidate you into doing something like maybe borrowing from friends and family, maybe cashing in RRSPs, which you should never do to pay debt. Interesting
tip right there, not cashing in your RRSPs.
Absolutely.
There is so much more that we need to cover. We're going to have to bring it back for another segment, but we will give you Blair's website address for more information. You can certainly check in Trustee.com. Sorry.
That's correct.
Feels like Monday and it's a Tuesday. But check this out. Lots of information to be had there, and you can contact Blair for more information. If you find yourself buried in debt, the one thing that I wanted to get to, we didn't have time to, is thinking there's no way to renegotiate government debts. Also something you need to discuss with somebody who knows the rules behind that, because often it is negotiable.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to be fearful of it. All right, it is 8:28. Thank you so much for being here, Blair. We appreciate it.